project and giving residents like me the opportunity to be heard this evening. As a former Demarest councilwoman and a current senior vice president at a large Fortune 500 company, I know firsthand that leadership is not easy. I respect the time and energy you all give and serve our town every day. I'm gonna skip some stuff because I know that we're short on time, but basically I am a lifelong resident of Demarest. I grew up here. My first memories are living on Van Horn Street with my family, my cousins. My husband and I moved here from Hoboken in 2005. He's a Brooklyn native. He, when visiting, wanted to, of course, raise our family in Demarest, and we have done that. We're a very proud family. We have only contributed positively to this community for the last 20 years. We've invested in this town. We've endured tough years. We've always paid our taxes, and we've never stopped believing that Demarest was worth it. Tonight, I'm here, respectfully, Mayor, to oppose your plan and plead, beg, that you don't cut matured, healthy trees to widen or add drainage to a street that does not flood, while other parts of our town are facing serious stormwater issues. Do not sacrifice the character of our neighborhood for a project that doesn't seem to have a clear, transparent justification. And that's something I want to talk a little bit about very quickly, if I may, about the transparency that has gone on with this specific project. Because process matters as much as the result. And it's important we ask some hard but necessary questions this evening. Some are, who approved this specific plan that removes 9 trees? Is there an arborist report? Asterisk, I saw the arborist report come out as I walked into the building this evening. I have not had full time to read it, which goes more to my point about transparency and timing of information that's shared about this project, that it came out this evening. Shady to say the least, just gonna say it. Was this decision to remove trees on Stelfox made publicly with proper background information? Was the Shade Tree Commission consulted in a timely manner? Was the council able to make an informed decision when voting on this plan? And to start answering some of those questions, I'd like to share some information I have found in the last 10 or so days. I have an email dated April 11th, the Friday after the trees were removed from Borough Hall. That the trees were removed, marked for removal. The email is from the Borough Administrator to the head of the Shade Tree Commission, informing of the tree removals, but with no meaningful details about the project. And you're gonna hear that's a theme that goes throughout my comments here. Again, the trees were marked afterwards, then the shade tree was informed. When I read through the engineering plans in the document named Resolution 100-24 authorizing engineering services for 2024 NJ DOT paving Stewart and Stelfox, the only mention of tree removals appears on page 6 of 9. I emailed this to you guys, and I quote, "While tree removals and or other utility pole relocations are not anticipated based on a preliminary review, during design it may be necessary to recommend removals, relocations to facilitate the proposed improvements. We will advise accordingly." In fact, when I dug into the council agenda and minutes on the website, I found that the Stelfox Street project was approved through various consent agenda items. No meaningful details were provided, not in the agenda, not in the minutes, not anywhere accessible for residents affected by this plan. And I know from my time on the council, consent agenda items are meant for routine, non-controversial business and approved quickly, often without discussion. A lot of business gets done in this room, I completely understand that. When you put something on the consent agenda item, it is considered non-controversial. Yet here we are with a room full of residents talking about the loss of many trees, changes to the landscape, changes to a beloved street in our town, and permanent impacts to property values, to the environment, all approved from this body without full explanation or public discussion. And that is a serious failure in transparency and governance. And that's what we're here tonight to talk about. This is not how important decisions should be made. So I'm gonna ask again, how did we get from tree removals not anticipated in May of last year to 9 trees being cut down in April of this year. Why not find a solution that works for everyone? Why not, kind of like what you're saying after the fact that you're suggesting this evening of all the wonderful things you mentioned when you opened this meeting. Why not talk about that a year ago, 2 years ago? Why are we doing it after the decisions were made? This is a huge issue that needs to be addressed. And we are also talking about drainage and things like that I know is a devastating issue for this town. I met with my neighbor who lives on the corner of Hardenberg and Stelfox this evening. She came over to my house around 5 o'clock. Her house floods. No house on Stelfox floods. Her house on Hardenberg floods. It's I don't know what the direction is, but it's higher than my house, right? Stelfox is one of the lowest streets in this valley of the town. And so how drainage will help her, I haven't yet to see a report that explains that. And these are all questions that should have been discussed in length well ahead of this evening. Last week, the borough administrator kindly met with me, Julie, and she explained that she was informed about the trees because I was wondering who approved it, right? So Julie says she approved them. Great. So I'm here tonight to ask, is it right for a single borough administrator to hold that much unilateral decision-making and authority over the fate of my neighborhood? The taxpayers who live on Stelfox received little to no information about this project. You may have seen it on NBC on Good Friday. Much of what we learned came only after trees were already marked with X's on a holiday weekend. We got a form in our doors and mailboxes. Borough Hall was closed. We had no way of asking questions. Again, the shadiness continues. I know what due process looks like, and this is an important point here, and I know when it's missing, okay? Our trees deserve some due process too. And if that is not enough, you'll also please listen to a few statements that my neighbor and my friend, she's a scientist, she lives right next door to me, provided to me. I will say I took 5 pages of her information and I condensed it to 4 bullets, but she's got plenty of information if anyone wants it. The EPA, Penn State University, and the NRDC all confirm that trees intercept rainfall and reduce erosion naturally. They absorb pollutants and regulate flooding. A single mature oak tree can transpire over 40,000 gallons of water into the atmosphere every year. Pages and pages of documentation. I'll provide them as needed and if wanted. When you remove these trees, you're not just changing the look of our street, you're fundamentally altering the environmental health of our safety and neighborhood. I'd also like to state here very publicly, loud, for anyone who may question, that I am not in any way whatsoever suggesting that we leave dead, sick, or dying trees in the ground. I've seen what they can do. A friend of mine here has had her house destroyed by one. I would never recommend a dead tree stay in the ground. That is absolutely not what I'm talking about. So if anyone wants to argue that point, please, let's hang that up. We're not doing that tonight. But I understand also that not everyone may agree with me here tonight, and I respect that. But we should all expect a process that is transparent and thoughtful and worthy of this town. Please do not insult the intelligence of these residents, of us residents, by claiming that a DOT grant and a signed contract leave you no choice but to advance this plan. This was not our mistake. This was another situation where you all approved a plan that you really didn't know what it entailed. It's clear as day for all of us. So let's stop pretend that that's not the case here tonight. This plan will cause irreversible harm. It's a plan that likely would not have passed if you all had the information, and you know this. I've spoken with almost every council person here. It's clear to me, and I'll say it to the public, that this body did not have the information needed to approve this plan properly. So without proper discussion and transparency, what are we doing? Are we hiding behind technicalities and justifying a bad decision based on improper process rather? If that goes that way, if you do approve this plan as is and try to put Band-Aids on it and try to make it palatable for the public, it's going to be clearer than you may understand about how this body makes decisions. And it will not be accepted, it will not be forgiven. It's not just about trees here tonight, folks, it's about trust. The arborist report coming out as I walked into the room tonight, the arborist report that I will report, I've read for 5 seconds that says every tree on my street is sick. And so then we all should be concerned about our streets and trees in this whole town. That came out tonight. What is the timing? How is that, first of all, proper that it came out a week after the trees were set to be destroyed? So all together, the transparency, the decision-making is a huge issue here. And again, it's not about trees, it's about trust. It's about whether residents can believe that our government listens, values, and protects the people who live here. It's about the kind of town that we leave for the next generation. You take these trees down, it's a generation before they can grow again. And as far as harmful reputation for spending $500,000, I think it's more of a concern, I would think, for this body to understand the harm for your reputation to make a decision like this that affects so many of us and the environmental, all the things I listed, I'm not gonna do it again, that's where you should be concerned about your harmful reputation, okay? I beg you, I urge you to rethink this plan and rethink this process and do what's right before it's too late. I do wanna close by saying, Mayor Bernstein specifically, in one of my conversations last week with a borough employee, you were quoted as saying, it's never too late to make the right decision. And I wasn't surprised to hear that from you, honestly. So I am here tonight to ask you to please live up to that wise statement and make the right decision. Thank you.